afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our next presentation with CanAlaska Uranium. Presenting on behalf of the company today are President and CEO Peter Dasler and Chief Operating Officer Cory Belyk. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Peter and Cory to go through the presentation. Please remember to submit your questions through the chat at any time. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Derek, and welcome, audience. It's a pleasure to be here on the Red Cloud webinar. We're going to talk about CanAlaska. We're very heavily involved in uranium exploration, but through our joint ventures and our project generation, we have a bunch of copper and nickel projects on the go. The presentation will go through a number of slides. We will be rapid fire, but you'll be able to come back and see these on our website. I'll give the first introduction, and Cory Belyk, my CEO, who's getting ready to run a drill program this week, will give you a bit more technical flavor of what's going on. The company is really based on looking at projects in the Athabasca Basin. We have 9 very significant projects that we're operating on. We have joint ventures with Denison, Northern Uranium, and with Cameco. And then because of our outside exploration over the last few years, we can introduce some copper and nickel opportunities in British Columbia and Manitoba. Detail on those, and especially those projects up in the Northeast Wollaston, will be given by Cory as we go through here. Now, you're going to see quite a news flow from CanAlaska this year. In January, we were drilling on copper. We're actually starting a drill program today up at Waterbury project. And then we're going to talk about nickel and uranium through the rest of the year. But look forward to a number of joint venture opportunities that we'll be able to present to people. And these are actually more tickets in the lottery that we can go for. We expect to have some wins this year, and we'd like to take you with us. Now, the uranium story is so fascinating to me. I see it as political, as strategic, economic opportunities. And in the Athabasca Basin, we have projects which are so rich that they almost defy your imagination when you talk about 100 times the average world grade or 100 times the average world size. So this business scenario exists. It exists because of the build out of nuclear power plants that are in North America, but also outside North America, and they're going to drive our market for the next years. And we have a lot of people joining this discussion because of small nuclear reactors, or because of climate change, or because of just lowering carbon content. I fully believe in nuclear power as a very clean, efficient way to produce electricity. And whether it's large scale or small scale, we're going to need uranium to supply those nuclear power plants. And that's the purpose of CanAlaska, being an exploration company, being on the front end, and giving our shareholders a very rapid return on their investments as we make discoveries. So those discoveries can come from exploration on good-looking projects. And Cory, who had 24 years with Cameco Corporation, traveling around the world looking at uranium projects, is very familiar with the projects we got in the basin, especially those just north of Eagle Point, where he spent 6 years underground working out the geometry of these types of targets. So now I'll pass it over to Cory, and Cory can run the technical end of this presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Peter. Pleasure to be here today to talk to you a little bit about CanAlaska's portfolio. It is a project portfolio that has an incredible array of projects in the uranium space. On the eastern side of the Athabasca Basin, shown on the left-hand side, extending from down around the Key Lake mill and mine, through MacArthur in the Cigar area, and northeast of Eagle Point. Coupled with that are a number of projects in the sulfide nickel space in Thompson, Manitoba, just the neighboring province to the east. This is the 5th largest sulfide nickel jurisdiction in the world. It really hasn't seen recent exploration in a number of decades, so it's ripe for opportunities to come forward. And as Peter mentioned, we do have a copper project in the Quesnel Trough of British Columbia. Looking at the uranium story, the target scenarios within CanAlaska's portfolio span a broad spectrum from basement-hosted targets like Arrow and Eagle Point through to mid to deeper targets such as Cigar Lake and McArthur River and everything in between. It covers the full spectrum of these large Tier 1 type deposits that occur in the eastern Athabasca Basin. Our more recent discovery at our West McArthur project near McArthur River, McArthur is about 12 kilometers to the east, shown here in this image, is a very, very large mineralizing event. It's a few kilometers away from Cameco's recent discovery of 68 million pounds at 8% at Fox Lake, shown here in the yellow star. And it's along the same geological corridor, what we call this productive corridor. It's showing the grades similar to McArthur and Cigar, and it's a very important project in CanAlaska's portfolio. Looking a little closer at this discovery at West McArthur, what we term the 42 zone, again, a couple of kilometers away from 70 million pounds at 8% at the Fox Lake deposit. It's got a large alteration envelope with it, similar to what is seen at Fox Lake. And this past summer, we spent some time during COVID in the field just reviewing core and looking for where an extension of the 42 zone may occur. We came up with a very, very strategic and very, very important exploration corridor immediately to the southwest, extending for about 3 kilometers, where we identified the main controlling fault that is host to Fox Lake and the 42 zone. And none of those drill holes along that trend have intersected the ideal target. So we're very, very excited about this development in the last number of months, and this will be a focus for our summer program in 2021. So what does the 42 zone look like? Well, it's early days, but it has a large envelope of alteration associated with the high-grade mineralization. Now, the mineralization at 42 zone, we have a couple of intersections at 5% uranium. Our latest drill hole in late 2019 was 8% uranium. So we're getting into the grades that we need to see for a Tier 1 type deposit like McArthur Cigar Lake. These are very, very high-grade deposits, very, very large deposits. So we're getting the right grade, we're getting the right size of alteration associated, which is just a measure of the mineralizing fluids passing through the system. If we look on the right, we know what these things look like. Roughly to scale are Cigar Lake and McArthur River. On the left-hand side is our 42 zone. It is large. It's several hundred meters in width and extends in some cases right to surface, approximately 800 to 900 meters. This is a Tier 1 mineralizing event like Cigar or McArthur, we believe. There's a strategic opportunity to the West McArthur project. It's located close to McArthur River, just 12 kilometers away. And that road from McArthur River down to Key Lake is where the McArthur River mineralization and deposit is hauled for production. Well, that asset at Key Lake, the Key Lake Mill, is about $1 billion worth, maybe more today. And it does not have feed after McArthur River's approximately 15 to 19 years, depending. We have a strategic opportunity here that anything that we can discover at West McArthur, coupled with perhaps the Fox Lake deposit, again, 70 million pounds already at 8%, could access the Key Lake Mill in about 15 years' time. So that is a strategic opportunity, being close to the infrastructure that is the Key Lake Mill. Over the past year or so, CanAlaska has been adding to its portfolio in anticipation of the upturn. We've had our Cree East project, which is large down the lake, but we also spent some time adding to our portfolio with new projects northeast of Eagle Point. Peter suggested I spent quite a bit of time at Eagle Point, like to think that we understand the model and the target. And as this ground came open from the last cycle, we strategically picked up 5 project areas that have the same type of structural preparation that you need to form an Eagle Point or Arrow type deposit. We believe we know what these things look like. To highlight that, the target models for Eagle Point and Arrow involve geophysical anomalies, here roughly shown at the same scale. On the left-hand side is one of many zones at Eagle Point that hosts about 100 million pounds of uranium, and on the right is the same target, a gravity low, but also a conductor, that hosts 300 million pounds at Arrow. So these things can be very large, we know what they look like, and we can use this to our advantage when we go out beyond the margins of the basin looking for these basement type targets. To highlight this in our Northeast Wollaston project area, there's 4 of our new projects. They're along the Collins Bay Fault, host to the Eagle Point mine and deposit. Also the McGuire Fault coming through here, which is another large regional structure like the Collins Bay Fault, which has associated basement mineralization just on the Manitoba side of the Saskatchewan-Manitoba border. These things are fertile. These are fertile corridors, and they're underexplored for basement type analogs like Eagle or Arrow. It's a model that has been ignored for a number of years. So we're looking for, on these projects, that shallow 0-400 meter basement hosted analog like Eagle Point or Arrow. Looking at one of these projects, just to highlight the potential, is our Watson project. It's along the Collins Bay Fault, where there's a number of interpreted structures coming off it. We call them splays. We've also got, coupled with that, these electromagnetic and gravity anomalies coincident in association with outcrop samples or rock samples, 1.4% uranium. So we've got the right fingerprint occurring both in scale, the items that we want to see like structure, alteration, mineralization, that suggest high potential for an Eagle Point or Arrow type analog. Again, not a single drill hole into these targets. It's a target that has not been adequately explored to northeast of Eagle Point. And we believe we've cornered the best geological space for those targets to be explored for. Going down to our Cree East project, which is located 40 kilometers away from the Key Lake Mill. Again, the mill that accepts the McArthur River ore just 80 kilometers to the northeast. We're shown in satellite imagery. We're strategically located again. Key Lake's going to need feed. Cree East has 9 different zones with mineralization already identified, 2 of which, zones A and B, which are really high priority and most advanced and ready for Zone A. This target, it has an extensive alteration profile in uranium, clays, trace metals, things like arsenic, nickel, cobalt, everything you want to see in association with a tier 1 event like Cigar and McArthur, and at the right scale, occur at Zone A. Coupled with that is deep basement alteration, 300 meters of intense alteration associated with this alteration halo and mineralization near the unconformity. So again, we've got the right fingerprint for one of these tier 1 events like Cigar and McArthur. It's got all the right signposts, and this is a high priority target ready for drilling follow-up. Zone B, just several kilometers away, again, looks very similar, an intense several hundred meter alteration profile, enrichment profile into the sandstone, shown in lower left. Coupled with that, our geophysics is telling us that we have alteration up into the sandstone with this enrichment associated with at least 60 meter offset at the unconformed large fault. These are everything we want to see for discovery of a tier 1 mineralizing event like Cigar and McArthur. This ideal target has not been drill tested. The last hole was lost in intense alteration and structure, and that was right during the times of Fukushima. It hasn't been touched in about 10 years. We need to come back in here. It's ready to drill, and this hopefully will be a focus in the near future. What are we doing in March? Well, we're mobilizing into the Cigar Lake area. We have 2 projects, our Waterbury projects, East and South projects. These are along, the East project is along the Cigar Lake corridor. Again, Cigar Lake speaks for itself. The South project is located along the Rabbit Lake Collins Bay Fault System, host to the Collins Bay and Eagle Point deposits. These are very, very important uranium corridors in the northeast part of the Very excited about the upcoming drilling program because at Waterbury East, we have a resistivity anomaly. That's a measure of potential alteration in the sandstone that looks like the Q11A mineralization shown in the lower right-hand corner of this image. Perhaps it's even more intense in our area. That hosts 2% up to 7 meters in width. This target has not been drill tested. The conductor has not been drill tested. We're very excited about this target because it has, again, the right fingerprints for discovery of a major mineralizing event. At the South project, similarly, we've got historical holes that have been lost due to alteration in structure. They're enriched in uranium, clays, everything you want to see again for a large mineralizing event. So, and this is along the Rabbit Lake Fault System, again, close to Eagle Point or the Collins Bay deposits. So a very, very prolific corridor in the eastern Athabasca. Drills are moving there today. Drilling in the coming weeks. With CanAlaska, during the low time in uranium, we looked at what other commodities in our backyard can we look for? Nickel being one of them, copper another. So during this time, CanAlaska was busy assembling a portfolio of land in the sulfide nickel jurisdiction that is the Thompson nickel belt. This is a very important belt historically for sulfide nickel, and with the electric vehicles coming on stream, battery storage becoming important, the world needs more nickel. Where are these projects located? Again, the neighboring province to Saskatchewan, Manitoba. It's a 250-kilometer long nickel belt. And we've got 3 project areas. The Hunter Strong project area is just northeast of Thompson. We optioned that last year to Fjordland Exploration, which is a company owned about 30% by Mr. Robert Friedland. Large projects with a lot of potential. Down near Woboden, we have our Mannerbridge project, where in 2019, CanAlaska's first drill program drilled 12% nickel. Recent work in the past month or so has been focused in the Quesnel Trough. We did a deal with Almanica Minerals to earn 50% of the project by completing a drilling program. That's just been completed and we're awaiting assays. We expect news later this week. In summary, we're here for success. We're technically and politically strong. We've got a lot of support through our board, and they believe in what we're trying to do. Company coming through the tough low uranium market is well structured, with only about 72 million shares outstanding, a little over 100 million fully diluted, and the stock is moving in the past couple of months. So we're a well structured company with the right targets, and more importantly, we're advancing new discoveries along the way, and a lot more on the plate to hopefully discover.
Okay, I think with that we'll head into questions. So I think you covered part of this in your second last slide, but what is the current burn rate and how much cash do you have in the bank currently? Probably X drilling is probably the best way to describe that.
As of today, we have $4.3 million in the bank account. We're also completing another $2 million financing. The burn rate is less than $100,000 a month for our basic operations. We've just taken on new staff. And our summer programs will cost us between $2.5 and $3 million, the current programs. So yes, we are depleting the treasury to about half of where we are at the moment. But we understand that these opportunities for discovery success can drive a market that's quite extraordinary. So we're cashed up at the moment, but not over cashed.
And yeah, obviously that's $2.5 to $3 million of your money going into the ground. How much is sort of budgeted by your partners as well?
We've just gone through about an $800,000 program that was paid for by Almanica Minerals. We're trying to work out what our partners will be able to do through the summertime. But this current program, a $500,000 program at Waterbury, will be all our own spend. So there's a shifting target here. We don't intend to spend all our money on exploration, but it's sufficient to give us more discovery holes.
Right. Another question from the line: which project is closest to a resource estimate, and how much drilling is required to get there?
I can quite honestly say we don't have a resource estimate for any of our projects in the short term. We are looking for things that are extraordinary. They're large, but they are of smaller footprint. We think that we can find something very large, but we don't have any numbers against them at the moment. We are an exploration company. We will provide upside for our shareholders with discovery holes, and hopefully move those projects on as they get some sort of resource together on them. But no resource at the moment, at the current time. The nature of our work doesn't set us up for that. There were no available operations in the basin when we started.
Sure.
15 years ago.
Yeah. And I guess the third question from this particular questioner, I guess, is obviously Cameco's in a slightly better financial situation because of the CRA dispute partially being resolved. What have they increased their activity in the West MacArthur JV, and sort of what's the status there?
They have been in a dilution situation for the past 2 years, And we will be having our May meeting with them and going over the drill program for the summer. So until that's sort of completed, I really can't say where they really want to stand.
Right.
I do know that their exploration has been severely curtailed over the last 4 years, and there hasn't been any significant change that I've seen.
Right. And then this relates to maybe moving a little bit from uranium to nickel, to your nickel assets. The question revolves around the Fiordland JV in that area. Is there a reason that the Thompson deposit was not included in that joint venture? And then I guess why?
Oh, the project that we optioned to Fiordland is 25 kilometers north of the Thompson ore bodies. It's in the same environment. It has a number of targets that look geophysically like the Thompson ore body. And HBX Consulting, which did a vast amount of work for Fiordland beforehand, produced about 8 targets for us to drill. We are the operator. We did expect to be there today, running a drill program. It looks like it'll be pushed later into the summer. But no, we don't own the claims to the south. Most of the claims around Thompson and further south have been owned for the last 60 years by the major mining companies. Belyk is currently controlled to vast areas of leases there, but they've been progressively coming open, and we've been acquiring land as they come open. So that's how we got Manor Bridge and the Strong projects.
Sure. And then relating to the Zone 42, it sounds like for Zone 42, the thinking has evolved from the initial drilling. How much have the plans changed since you started looking at it?
I'm going to let Cory talk about that, John. I think we got our eye well on 42, but there's something else that's grown as well. Cory, give your view on that.
Oh, absolutely. Real pleasure. Yeah, the 42 zone is still evolving, as Peter said. It's still open in a number of directions. We spent some time looking at that, the model of what controls the 42 zone, and then we expanded that outward, like I said, about 3 kilometers to the southwest. And what we were really looking for is tracing that continuation of the controlling structure that hosts 42, but also hosts Cameco's Fox Lake deposit, just a couple kilometers to the northeast. And what we're excited about is that we actually were able to locate and trace on a number of fences the projection of that structure, and it has not been drill tested at the unconformity, the classic target for Cigar MacArthur, and yet it connects right into the 42 zone. So what we've effectively done is expanded the exploration space and corridor into an area that's 3 kilometers long, that's not even drill tested yet at the ideal target. And we have to remember that some of the targets we're looking for here, 300 million pounds can exist in the size of a football field. And we're looking for it in a 3 kilometer strike length. So it's basically grown. And I think the team is actually more excited than we were a number of months ago based on the discovery and recognition of where that fault may actually lie. And that's really exciting for us to open up that exploration space.
Great. Our frustration is that we haven't been able to get enough drill holes into this project, but now with the market changing, I think you're going to see a tremendous input from us and a lot more drill holes, and the target is huge.